What up, Suns fans? Suns lose to the Indiana Pacers. Final score, Suns 111 to the Indiana Pacers 120. There's a lot to talk about this. Suns lose. What the frick? We had a 3-day break, quite a whiles away from this team. Everyone had time to regather, rejuvenate themselves. But, I think most of us deeply down did miss Suns basketball. And boy, did it deliver tonight. Your typical stuff that goes down in a Suns game, like the common 16 turnovers. Yeah, that's, what the frick? Who put that there? 16 turnovers this team had. That right off the bat, there's your biggest problem. You want to know why the Suns lost tonight? It's the 16 turnovers right there. That's the biggest problem, and we had like 10 at halftime. The Indiana Pacers defense is quite something else, especially for a mixed Pacers season so far. We definitely made them look like their Eastern Conference appearances that they had last season, because that's what the Suns do best, baby. So rough. I mean, I think I should just come out and say this. I hope this game proves to every Suns fan here, while Jimmy Butler would make this team slightly better, it's not worth it right now. There's no way a Suns player can look at this game tonight, watch the defensive disaster that the Suns were able to do, where they couldn't even get a stop on the Pacers mostly. Both teams had 40% from the field. Yeah, that's not defense. And their offense isn't even that good either, as they had 9 threes out of 30 attempts. Quite simply, the Indiana Pacers came into our building tonight and looked and shot like the better team here, which shouldn't be the case for a championship desiring Suns team. Where's the defense? Our offense is there. KD, he had 37 points, pretty great, but it just didn't feel like enough out there. Like somehow, this is our first game where we've had the big three back. Beal, Book, and KD all came back tonight, and we still lost by 9 points to the Indiana Pacers, who were, emphasis on were, 4-11 on their road trips. They're now 5-11 because of this game. This simply should not be the case offensively. So this just goes back to my point again about defense being the biggest disaster the Suns have had this season, okay? And that is where I loop back to the Jimmy Butler trade that we've been having recently. Now, I would love a Jimmy Butler trade. Let's get that out of the way. I would love him on this team, mostly because he's a star. And obviously, he's still great. I mean, he had a great triple-double against the Detroit Pistons recently. And if we did trade for Jimmy Butler, it would improve, but not greatly. It wouldn't improve our defense, is what I'm trying to say here, right? I've seen most of the talks, okay? I've talked about this before, and I've been saying that it's mostly improbable for the Suns to get this done. Now, in a fairy tale scenario, where if all the Suns have to offer, this fairy tale, including the obstacles that the Heat would want Beal, are willing to take Beal's $50 million contract, and a third team in the NBA is willing to make this happen, and then all the Suns have to send out is Beal and our first round pick. Now, in that fairy tale scenario, I'm fine with that getting us Jimmy Butler. But notice how I say that is a lot of obstacles the Suns have to go through just to get this to work. And that's a fairy tale scenario. I think at this point, I saw a trade made by ESPN that was a little more realistic, because we all don't know how much the Heat are thinking about this trade. We don't know if the Suns office is actively trying to pursue this trade, but it's going to take some convincing otherwise. That ESPN trade I mentioned included all of the Suns picks, which was that first round in 2031, and also a couple second round picks that we managed to basically corral during the off season, which was really great off season. We have a lot of assets. We got to be really thankful about this office for somehow squeezing this scenario to just give us a little bit of trade assets this off season. The front office has been simply doing a great job, which brings me back to the point, if that is the most likely scenario where it's Beal and like all of our picks? Why would the Suns office do that just to get marginally better? I think when you look at it at that point, the Suns are giving too much for what they're getting back in return. And that doesn't seem worth it to me anymore for Jimmy. So I'm basically saying if we can't get him for a bag of chips, then let's not get him anyway. Which, when you put it that way, it seems a lot more reasonable. And I think it's definitely the reality of this situation that simply the Suns cannot make a move for Jimmy Butler. So let's crush those allegations right here, right now. I will eat my words if Jimmy Butler does come to the Suns. But as of right now, that is seemingly unlikely. Okay? There we go. We have said that. So when I look at this game, defense is still such a big issue. Okay? So let's go out and scour the trade market once again for some defensive, just bench players. Funny enough, I honestly look at the Pacers team and I kind of imagine that's what the Suns could be right now. It's funny that we're having these conversations again because initially when Bradley Beal trade rumors were floating around the Suns, I initially stated that I am not a fan of forming the big three. And I was more in favor of getting like great bench assets, which when you look at it is literally the Indiana Pacers with Tyrese Halliburton and Pascal Siakam being their two stars. And they just have a great bench surrounding those two. And they made a trip to the Eastern Conference Finals last year. So I definitely think we should take a lesson from history here, and the Suns need to go after some bench pieces with whatever we have left. We went all in on Beal. There's no need to go even more all in on Jimmy Butler. The big three as of now is solid enough. I believe before tonight they were 7-2 overall, now 7-3 on the season when they are all formed together. So the biggest problems of this big three continue to be injuries. I mean, what isn't? No, like injuries are other teams' problems as well. Suns just are unfortunately unlucky in that department, as we'll get more into that later. Let's talk about that big three I'm hyping up so much. So KD, 37 points, very efficient. I did not notice he had 37 points. I definitely did feel like KD was a little lackluster in his performance tonight, but that 37 points did amaze me. But that wasn't even enough to bring this game close, as once again, I point you towards the 16 turnovers. Bradley Beal, first game back, 31 minutes, 16 points. 2-2 from three. I mean, he doesn't seem to be having that knee swelling anymore. He also had 3 turnovers. KD had 5 himself. And then definitely the biggest question here for tonight is Devin Booker, who started this game out amazing, was aggressive, was able to cut to the rim. And I definitely will say this one thing about tonight's game is that first opening quarter of game, the Suns looked really good. All right, they had an 8 run to start the game off with. KD was struggling that first half, but he did warm up eventually. But back to Book, he started the game really amazing, being really aggressive again. You know, honestly, he looked like he could have dropped another 60 bomb on the Indiana Pacers if he had the time. But God dang it. Book's injured, fellas. I don't know if you caught it, but Devin Booker didn't return to the game and went back to the locker room because he was diagnosed with groin tightness. He's not really helping the allegations with that. And what I mean by those allegations, the Suns' big three gets injured. And it usually falls into a pattern of like big three all back together. KD gets injured. KD comes back. Beal gets injured. Beal finally comes back. KD gets injured again. KD comes back. Book's injured. It's just like this constant pattern of where none of them can stay healthy just to play together. I mean, they've played 10 games now together as a whole trio. It sucks. So I really don't know how serious this could be, but this is the first time that Book's been injured this season, which is a thing I haven't talked much about this season. Like, say what you want about what you think Booker has been playing this season, but one fact you got to appreciate him for is that he's remained healthy up until this point. 25 games he has been able to play without being injured. So hopefully he gets better on that. The Suns have a little bit of a break here, so prayers up for Book. So that's our big three. Tyus Jones had his first game I would say he had a really bad game. He only contributed 7 points, but he was an unfortunate 3 of 10 from the field and 1 of 6 from three. So, I mean, all that hyping I've been doing over the past weeks has finally came back and bit us as he drops a stinker, although he did give 7 assists but had 2 turnovers. So Tyus Jones, very bad night. Yusuf Nurkic, I would say he had a good game. Hate all you want, man, but you can't hate on Nurkic. It really seems like I'm the only Nurkic defender out here nowadays. But he started that first quarter really good, and he surprised me in a lot of ways, as he had 12 points. He had the double-double with 10 rebounds as well. And, I mean, he was really just doing everything that first quarter. Just contesting. He was finishing lobs. He was rebounding, 10 rebounds. And he was playmaking as he usually does. And when I say playmaking, I don't mean like he was Tyrese Halliburton playmaking out there, but like he just does his usual dribble the ball, walking up the court, and then waits for someone to come and take the ball from him. And then he usually does the screen. That is his usual job. And he had some good layups. Although I will say in the half, he had some bad plays. Definitely he had an open dunk and then he fumbled it. That's the only really bad play I could think for Nurk. You can't hate on a solid night from Nurk, okay? And he had 2 turnovers. So that's our whole starters. Combined 13 turnovers from our starters. Amazing. You really gotta love that. And not much action from our bench, especially when Indiana has the better bench here. I think we could confidently say that. I mean, otherwise, it was just mostly the heavy lifting from Obi Toppin from their bench, as he had 13 points. Not that much of an impressive night from our bench either. Royce O'Neal was 3 of 5. All of those were 3. And most importantly, he hit a crazy 3 to end the half, like buzzer beater style. That was awesome. And Royce O'Neal just continues. Meanwhile, Tyus Jones had like a bad night. Royce O'Neal continues to be a great role player for the Suns. When everything else is bad, at least we have Royce O'Neal contributing. He had 9 points, 6 rebounds, 4 assists. He just beautiful. Although he had 5 fouls. You move on. Grayson Allen also had a pretty rough shooting night, I would say. He didn't make a 3 ever. He still had 8 points, though, as he just charges down into the paint like a running back. Just pushing out everyone, and he lays it up. He does that little good thing that he's been really good at this season. Misses 3-point production, though, as Grayson Allen somehow had 10 rebounds. What? He had 2 assists, and somehow he was a plus 19 for the Knights. Other than that, not much other from the bench. Ryan Dunn made a late appearance into this game. I don't know why Coach Bud decided to not play Ryan Dunn for so long, but I mean, he looked pretty rough in that fourth. There's other guys that had some time, but they weren't all that notable, so I'll just save you guys the trouble and say nothing much else happened. So the Suns lose to the Indiana Pacers, and that was basically a wrap of our entire game. Sucks. We are now 14-12 on the season, and that puts us back in 8th seed. That's tough, especially because over the week we had the NBA Cup that has went on, and congratulations to the Milwaukee Bucks for winning the NBA Cup. But during that time, the Warriors, they lost to the Rockets. With that kind of loss, it really pushed them back in the standings, and it put us in 6th. For a short second, we were 6th. We had it all, and now we're back to 8th. So scary times, but also huge opportunity. As the saying goes, in chaos, there is opportunity. And the West is chaotic as it has ever been. And, you know, with the Suns' upcoming schedule, with 2 back-to-back games against Denver, a Mavericks game after that, a Warriors game after that, and then that Grizzly game after. So those are tough competitors. I'm scared for them. There's definitely an opportunity for the Suns to go on a run here, but there's also an opportunity for the Suns to completely fumble these upcoming games, and we could possibly land in the elimination category. We'll see about that. Anyways, next Suns game, we will be back December 1st against the Detroit Pistons, a Valley night. Although it's a shame that the City Editions, we are 1-3 in. You know, honestly, say what you want about the City Edition jerseys, whatever. But I think what really saves them is the aesthetics. Like the jerseys on themselves, they're eh. But I'm really starting to come around to this simply because of the aesthetic of the whole thing. It's really retro, it's vintage, and it's nostalgic. So I really like just the way that footprint and the courts and just everything around it is all gives off the atmosphere. And I think that's what I really appreciate about this year's City Edition. So I'm definitely looking forward to seeing more of that. Another victory for Matt Ishbia, the GOAT. I guess another thing we could touch on here really quickly is the new $2 value menu. Quick dubs. Holy crap. Matt Ishbia taking dubs wherever he can. The Suns may suck right now, but Matt Ishbia is still grabbing those dub skis. So it's amazing having an owner like this, you know? I just really feel good about the Suns in the upcoming years. And, you know, whether it ends in a championship or not, I'm still glad to call myself a Suns fan. So that will be it for today's reaction. Suns lose to the Pacers. Enjoy the day off, but we will be back here against the Detroit Pistons, which should be a win. I could definitely see us going on a quick little run here. I mean, Denver, we handled them pretty easily last year. Yusuf Nurkic always seems to be good against Jokic, so I'd really love to see that matchup. Other than that, there's not much else I could say about tonight's loss other than see you next time. Hey, if you liked this content, please like, subscribe, and comment. We'll be here all Suns season to cover the rest of the Suns games, and we'll see you next time. So long for now.